Hello, everyone, and welcome back. This is the second video in our series on stereotyping. In the last video, we talked about what stereotyping is and why we do it. And what we're going to do in this one is we're going to talk about the different ways that stereotyping can be harmful. In the last video, I left off talking about positive and negative stereotypes. And that's where I want to pick up on in this one. And one of the questions I'll get is okay, well, what is a positive stereotype? Well, a positive stereotype is any kind of attribute that we see as being something that would be positive for that person to have. So some examples of positive stereotypes would include all Asians are good at math, or black people are, all black people are athletic. Okay, so you can see that would be something that would be kind of cool to have, right? The problem with this is that even these that could be perceived as positive actually can still be harmful. So how can they be harmful, do you say? Well, for a couple of reasons. One is that, to put it sort of bluntly, imagine if you're the Asian kid who's not good at math, right? In this really interesting way, because stereotypes are sort of there for us to make quick sort of perceptions on how we should talk to people, people who don't have those automatic attributes sort of then have to consistently bring up or reveal that they're not good at it, right? So again, if you're the Asian kid who's bad at math, you have to kind of consistently tell people, oh, I'm not that good at math, or oh yeah, I'm the Asian kid who's not good at math. So in this way, it continuously sort of has to be brought up of this lack, of this thing that this person is lacking. In addition, it also minimizes sort of their experience as a person of that group. So almost in this way, you become less than as a member. So, what do you mean you're an Asian kid who's not good at math? And so almost in this way, you become sort of a traitor to your group, even though this is based upon a stereotype, so not even something that should be held for each individual within that group. So in addition to stereotyping being problematic from both a positive and a negative way, stereotyping can harm in 4 other ways as well. The first is that it does sort of perpetuate the assumption of widely held beliefs. And so it's sort of like a really twisted game of telephone, right? We tell one person who tells another person and tells another person. As we talked about, we can build stereotypes based upon indirect experience. And so all we need to do is have people who we consider significant others. So significant others aren't just romantic. Significant others are exactly what they say they are. Anybody who's significant in our life. If we have a significant other in our life tell us a specific stereotype, it will perpetuate that assumption. In addition, it will reinforce the stereotype. So this almost becomes the strength in numbers issue, where the more people who believe it, the more it actually reinforces that stereotype. And since stereotypes learned through indirect experience can be passed down generationally, we can get to the point where we will have stereotypes where we don't even know why we stereotype that way. We just know that's a widely held belief. So for example, why do we stereotype that all Asian people are good at math? It's not genetics necessarily. If we actually look at where that kernel of truth comes from in stereotyping, we can see that it actually just comes from a cultural value perspective of more emphasis being placed upon education, and specifically the science, technology, engineering, and math fields, the STEM fields, in Asian cultures. So this is also going into something where we can see, going down that rabbit hole, of this reinforcing of a stereotype that is based upon ethnocentric beliefs. So based upon the performance in math and science of American students, there is the presumption, then the stereotype, that all Asians are, essentially what we're saying is all Asians are better at math than Americans. And so we reinforce this stereotype even if we don't necessarily know where it comes from or why that might actually be the case. And because of this, this will impede effective communication. So what does this mean? Well, if we go in with widely held assumptions about a group, and we've had this stereotype reinforced within us for generations, we will make assumptions about how we should or can communicate with people of that group. And so we can go into it already with miscommunication just based upon these perceptions that we have of this group of people. And then finally, and this is probably one of the most harmful aspects of stereotyping, is that the continued use of stereotypes will actually result in what's called a self-fulfilling prophecy. So a self-fulfilling prophecy is where we will consciously and unconsciously act in ways that will bring about a expected or desired outcome. And so oftentimes when we think about self-fulfilling prophecies, we think about them in the negative aspect. An example of this would be, for example, if you are anxious about a math test and you say, "Oh, I suck at math, I'm going to fail this test." What winds up happening oftentimes is we do wind up failing that test. The reason for it, though, isn't necessarily because we might actually be bad at math, but because we hold that belief or that presumption, we will start to act in ways that will bring about that outcome. So when you find out you have a really hard math test, but you think you suck at math and that you're not going to pass it, you literally just won't put as much effort into actually learning the concepts. You won't put as much effort into studying. You won't put as much effort into asking questions or putting yourself out there. And so rather than asking questions if you don't understand during class, you sit there and go, "Oh, I suck at math, I'm going to fail it anyway," so you don't ask questions. When you're struggling on the homework, instead of asking for help from the instructor or asking for help from a classmate or a parent, significant other, you go, "Oh, well, I suck at it anyway. I shouldn't try too hard on my homework." And then when you get to your test, you decide the night before, you know what, I'm not going to cram for it. I'm going to go to the movies instead because I'm going to fail this test anyway, right? And then you get to school the next day and guess what? You failed the test. And what this does is this then perpetuates it. So you've just reinforced within yourself that is true. So it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. What we're going to do in the next video is I'm going to explain to you how these self-fulfilling prophecies work in a theory that's called stereotype threat. And that goes into the kernel of why negative stereotypes specifically, but also positive stereotypes can actually be incredibly harmful to the groups being stereotyped. Thanks again for listening. Take care. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Have a great day.